The chandeliers at the Grandview Ballroom sparkled like frozen stars the night my ex-husband walked in, and realized he'd made the biggest mistake of his life. But let me back up, because this story, it doesn't start with my triumph. It starts with me standing in a parking lot at 2 a.m., my marriage packed into 3 suitcases, wondering how I became so small that a man and his mother could just erase me. My name is Michaela Walker. For 9 years, I was Mrs. Rome Millstone, wife of the Hotel Empire heir, the perfect hostess, the invisible architect of his success. I planned million-dollar galas while he took the credit. I smiled through his mother Viola's cutting remarks about my hair, my family, my urban background. I made myself so small, so acceptable, so quiet. And then I found out he was cheating. With Amber Hutton, a 28-year-old marketing consultant who understood his vision better than I ever could. The divorce was final in March. By September, just 6 months later, Rome married her in the same ballroom where we'd said our vows. 6 months. That's how long it took for him to replace 9 years of my life. But here's what Rome didn't know, what his mother Viola didn't know, what nobody knew. I wasn't broken. I was building. And tonight, 9 months after signing those divorce papers, at the design showcase I'd spent the last 4 months creating, standing in front of 200 industry leaders, including billionaire developer Alfred Delfino, I was about to show them exactly who Michaela Walker was when she stopped trying to fit into Rome Millstone's narrow world. But first, Rome walked through those doors with Amber on his arm and his mother's satisfied smirk behind them, expecting to see me struggle. Instead, they saw me shine. Now, if you want to know how a woman goes from sleeping in her best friend's guest room to having a billionaire offer her an $8 million contract while her ex-husband watches his new wife realize she's the rebound, you better hit that subscribe button, because this story gets good. Let me take you back to where this really started. 9 months ago, on what should have been just another anniversary, the Millstone Grand Hotel penthouse suite smelled like roses and betrayal. I'd spent the afternoon arranging those roses myself, 24 Juliet roses, Rome's favorite, for our 9th anniversary. The champagne was chilling. The dinner reservation at Le Bernardin was confirmed. I'd even bought new lingerie, the kind that made me feel both powerful and vulnerable. I was wearing it under my dress when I pulled up the hotel security footage on my tablet. See, one of the perks of being the lead event director for Millstone Hotels and Resorts was access to everything. Part of my job was reviewing security footage for event planning, checking crowd flow, identifying bottlenecks, ensuring VIP privacy. I'd trained the security staff, I knew the systems, and when I noticed Rome coming home, later and later, smelling like perfume that wasn't mine, I did what any woman with access and suspicion would do. I looked. The footage was from 3 weeks earlier. Rome and a blonde woman in the executive suite. The kisses weren't accidental. They weren't confused. They were hungry, practiced, familiar. The way he touched her waist was intimate, proprietary. The way she laughed into his neck spoke of inside jokes and shared secrets. I watched it 3 times, my hands steady even as my heart shattered. The woman was Amber Hutton. I knew her. She'd been hired to consult on the Millstone brand's digital marketing strategy. She'd sat in meetings I'd organized, eating catering I'd selected, complimenting my taste while sleeping with my husband. The elevator dinged. Rome was home. He walked in whistling, loosening his tie, the picture of a man without a care in the world. When he saw me sitting on the couch, tablet in hand, his face did this thing, this micro-expression of guilt before the mask slid back into place. "Michaela," he said, my name suddenly careful in his mouth. "You're home early." "It's our anniversary," I replied, my voice surprisingly calm. "I'm exactly on time." He glanced at the roses, the champagne, then back at me. Something in my face must have told him this wasn't going to be a celebration. "What's wrong?" he asked, but he already knew. I turned the tablet toward him, hit play. I watched him watch himself betray me. His jaw tightened, his hands clenched, but he didn't look surprised. He looked caught. "Michaela, I can explain. Don't," the word came out sharp, final. "Don't insult me by lying. Just tell me how long." He ran a hand through his hair. the gesture he always made when he was stressed. 6 months. 6 months. Half a year of coming home to me, sleeping beside me, letting me plan his life while he built a future with someone else. Why? I asked, and I hated how small my voice sounded. Rome sat down across from me, elbows on his knees, looking at his hands instead of my face. You've changed, he said finally. You're not ambitious anymore. You used to have this drive, this fire. Now you're just content. Amber gets my vision. She pushes me. I gave up my career for yours, I interrupted, my voice rising. I turned down the position at the Carlyle to plan events for your family's hotels. I spent 9 years making you look good, making your mother's impossible standards feel achievable, making your success possible. And you call that lack of ambition? That's not fair, he said, but he couldn't meet my eyes. You're right, I said, standing. None of this is fair. I went to the bedroom, pulled out my suitcases, and started packing. Rome followed, his protests becoming more frantic. Michaela, wait. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. I'll end it with Amber. I don't want you to end it with Amber, I said, folding a dress with mechanical precision. I want you to be honest. You don't love me anymore. Maybe you never did. Maybe I was just the right kind of ambitious until I became your wife, and then I was supposed to become invisible. That's not true, he said, but the words rang hollow. Your mother will be pleased, I continued, moving to the closet. She never thought I was good enough anyway. Too urban, too ethnic, too visible. Amber's blonde, connected, from the right kind of family. Exactly what Viola wanted for you. Rome's silence confirmed what I already knew. His mother had approved this affair, had probably encouraged it. I packed 3 suitcases. 9 years fit into 3 suitcases. The irony wasn't lost on me. At the door, I turned back one last time. Rome stood in the middle of our bedroom, his bedroom now, looking lost. But not lost enough to chase me, not lost enough to fight. I loved you, I said quietly. I loved you so much I forgot to love myself. Thank you for reminding me that was a mistake. I left my wedding ring on the entry table and walked out of the Millstone Grand Hotel for the last time as Rome's wife. Carla Simmons opened her door at 2:47 a.m. to find me standing there with 3 suitcases and mascara streaks down my face. Oh, baby girl, she said, pulling me inside. Come here. I collapsed into my best friend's arms and cried for the first time since seeing that footage. Carla, who'd been warning me about Rome's emotional distance for years, who'd noticed Viola's microaggressions long before I admitted they hurt, who'd always seen me even when I was making myself invisible, she held me while I shattered. I've got you, she whispered. I've got you. Carla was everything I wasn't. Bold, unapologetic, full-figured, and fierce, with a fashion sense that made Project Runway look timid. She'd been my sorority sister at Spelman, my maid of honor, my voice of reason when I was too deep in the millstone world to see clearly. Her guest room became my sanctuary. Her kitchen became our war room. Her blunt observations became my therapy. That man had you planning his corporate events while his mama criticized your potato salad at Thanksgiving, she said the next morning, sliding coffee across her island. Baby, you've been diminished, systematically erased, and honestly, I'm glad he cheated, because you never would have left otherwise. Carla, no, hear me out, she interrupted. You're 38 years old. You've spent 9 years, nearly a quarter of your life, making yourself smaller, quieter, more acceptable. You gave up your 20s and most of your 30s to a man who saw you as an accessory. You stopped wearing your natural hair because Viola made that comment about professional appearance. You gave up your dream job because Rome said his family needed you more. You learned to laugh at jokes that weren't funny and apologize for things that weren't your fault. That's not love, Michaela. That's erasure. The words hit like a slap because they were true. Over the next 2 months, I fell apart and put myself back together. I found a therapist, Dr. Patricia Chen, who specialized in recovering from narcissistic relationships. I learned words like gaslighting and codependency. I understood finally that Rome's love had always been conditional, contingent on my willingness to shrink. The divorce was quick. Rome's lawyers pushed for a fast settlement, probably eager to legitimize his relationship with Amber. I got a decent financial package, enough to live on for 2 years if I was careful. The house, the cars, the life we'd built. All his. I didn't fight. I just wanted out. 6 months after our divorce was finalized, Rome married Amber in a ceremony at the Millstone Grand Hotel, the same venue where we'd celebrated our own wedding 9 years earlier. Viola posted photos on social media, the bride in white, properly blonde and beaming, standing beside her son in the ballroom I'd redesigned 2 years earlier. The caption read, "Welcoming our beautiful daughter to the family." I saw it while sitting in Dr. Chen's office. "How does that make you feel?" Dr. Chen asked gently. I stared at the photo. Amber wore my wedding tiara, the one Viola had given me, saying it was a family heirloom. I'd returned it with the divorce papers. Seeing it on another woman's head should have destroyed me. Instead, I felt nothing. Then something. Relief. "I feel free," I said, surprised by the truth of it. Dr. Chen smiled. "Good. Now, what are you going to do with that freedom?" That question echoed for weeks. I'd spent so long being Mrs. Rome Millstone that I'd forgotten who Michaela Walker was underneath. So I went searching. I started sketching again. In college, before I met Rome, I'd been obsessed with interior design and event styling. I'd dreamed of creating immersive experiences, spaces that told stories. But after marrying into the Millstone family, my creativity became functional, planning their events, their vision, their legacy. Now, sitting in Carla's guest room, I sketched for myself. I designed fantasy hotels, impossible ballrooms, event spaces that defied physics and budget constraints. I let my imagination run wild, coloring outside the lines I'd spent 9 years respecting. Carla walked in one evening and found me surrounded by sketches, markers scattered across the floor like confetti. "Girl," she said, studying my work, "this is incredible. Why have you been hiding this?" "I haven't been hiding it," I said. "I've been saving it for when it was practical, when it fit the Millstone brand standards." "Forget practical," Carla said firmly. "Forget the Millstone brand. This is your vision. And baby, it's better than anything I've ever seen in their hotels." She pulled out her phone. "I'm sending these to Marcus." "Who's Marcus?" "Marcus Jennings. He runs an event planning company downtown. We went to high school together. He's been looking for a design consultant." "Carla, I can't." "You can," she interrupted. "And you will. Because sitting in my guest room drawing dreams isn't enough anymore. It's time to build them." 2 days later, I met Marcus Jennings in his small but impeccably styled office in Brooklyn. He was a black man in his 40s, sharp suit, warm smile, and a reputation for creating events that celebrities actually attended by choice. I showed him my portfolio, the real one, not the sanitized version I'd created for Millstone corporate events. He studied each sketch in silence, his expression unreadable. Finally, he looked up. "How fast can you design an event space for a tech company's product launch? How fast do you need it?" 3 weeks. I should have said no, it was impossible. But something in his face, the way he saw potential instead of risk, made me bold. 2 weeks, I said. "I'll have concepts to you in 2 weeks." Marcus grinned. "You're hired." That project saved me. I worked 18-hour days, sketching and revising and perfecting. I poured every ounce of pain, anger, and resurrection into creating something beautiful, something that was mine. The launch was a success. The tech CEO posted photos that went viral. Design blogs picked up the story. And suddenly, my phone started ringing. Marcus hired me permanently. Then other clients started calling. My designs became known for being bold, unexpected, emotionally resonant. Everything the Millstone hotels weren't. 6 months after my divorce, I incorporated my own consulting firm, Walker Designs. The irony? My maiden name became my brand. And then, the opportunity that changed everything. Marcus called me on a Tuesday afternoon, his voice vibrating with excitement. "Michaela, I need you to sit down." "I'm already sitting." "Then hold on to something. I just got approached about a major design showcase at the Grandview Ballroom. 200 industry leaders, press coverage, potential investors. They want emerging designers to present their vision for luxury hospitality. The winner gets featured in Architectural Digest and a development contract. My heart started pounding. Marcus, that's held at the Millstone Grand Hotel, he finished. The words hung between us like a challenge. I can't, I said immediately. That's Rome's territory. His mother will be there. It's your chance to show everyone who Michaela Walker is, Marcus said firmly. Not Rome's ex-wife, not the woman who left, the designer who's about to change the game. I thought about my sketches, my vision, the woman I was becoming. I thought about spending 9 years making someone else's dreams real while mine collected dust. What's the timeline? I asked. You have 4 months to prepare. The showcase is in September. September. 9 months after my divorce. 9 months of rebuilding, healing, becoming. I'll do it, I said. Carla screamed when I told her. That's my girl. Oh, we're going shopping. You're going to walk in there looking like the goddess you are, and Rome is going to choke on his expensive whiskey. For 4 months, I worked like my life depended on it, because in many ways, it did. I was designing my comeback, my statement, my proof that I was more than someone's ex-wife. I created a concept for a boutique hotel that celebrated Black art, culture, and history. Not as a gimmick, but as a foundation. Every room told a story. Every space honored a legacy. It was personal, political, and unapologetically mine. I called it the Michaela Project. Dr. Chen smiled when I told her. You're naming it after yourself. I'm reclaiming it, I corrected. For 9 years, I was the woman behind the name. Now, I'm the name itself. The night before the showcase, I couldn't sleep. Carla came into my room at 3 a.m. and found me pacing. What if they hate it? I asked. What if Rome's right? What if I'm not ambitious enough, talented enough? Stop, Carla said, gripping my shoulders. Rome's opinion is trash, and we threw that out months ago. You are brilliant. Your work is exceptional, and tomorrow, everyone is going to see what I've always known. You were never the problem. You were the solution he was too stupid to recognize. I hugged her tight, grateful beyond words for a friend who'd never let me disappear. The day of the showcase arrived with perfect autumn sunshine. I dressed carefully, a burgundy wrap dress that hugged my curves, my hair styled in an elegant crown adorned with gold accessories, minimal makeup that let my features speak for themselves. I looked in the mirror and saw Michaela Walker, not diminished, not erased, whole. Carla drove me to the Millstone Grand Hotel. My hands shook as we pulled up to the entrance where I'd once worked, commanded, belonged. You ready? Carla asked. No, I admitted, but I'm going anyway. The Grandview Ballroom had been transformed into an exhibition space. 10 designers, 10 presentation areas, 200 judges, investors, and industry leaders circulating through. And somewhere in that crowd, Rome Millstone was watching. I found my designated space, a corner with excellent lighting and sightlines. I set up my presentation boards, my model, my vision. And then I waited. The ballroom filled quickly. I recognized faces from my Millstone days, executives, board members, competitors. Some did double takes when they saw me. Others pretended not to recognize the woman who used to organize their events. I held my head high and smiled. At 7:15 p.m., 15 minutes after the showcase began, the energy in the room shifted. A murmur rippled through the crowd like a wave gathering force. I looked up, and there they were. Rome Millstone walked through the entrance in his signature navy suit, amber on his arm and a white cocktail dress that screamed, "Look at me," and behind them, Viola Millstone in pearls and judgment. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Old panic threatened to swallow me, the instinct to hide, to minimize, to disappear. But I didn't move. I stood there, in my space, with my vision on display, and I let them see me. Rome saw me first. His step faltered. His expression cycled through surprise, confusion, and something that might have been regret before settling into polite neutrality. Amber's grip on his arm tightened. Her eyes swept over me, calculating threat levels. Viola's face hardened into aristocratic disapproval, as if my presence was a stain on her carefully curated event. They moved toward the opposite side of the room, deliberately avoiding my area. I exhaled slowly. They were here. This was happening. And I was ready. For the next hour, I presented my concept to judges, investors, and curious attendees. I spoke about creating spaces that honored heritage, that celebrated culture, that refused to erase identity in the name of mainstream appeal. Some people loved it. Some people looked uncomfortable. All of them listened. And then, at 8:30 p.m., everything changed. A tall man in an impeccably tailored charcoal suit approached my display. He moved with quiet confidence, his dark eyes studying my presentation with focused intensity. Security hovered discreetly nearby, a telltale sign of serious money or serious power. I recognized him immediately. Alfred Delfino, tech billionaire, philanthropist, developer of luxury properties across 3 continents, the man whose opinion could launch careers or end them. At 43, Alfred Delfino had built an empire from nothing. The tech industry called him a visionary. The art world called him a patron. And now, he was standing at my presentation board, giving me his complete attention. "Miss Walker," he said, his voice deep and measured, "tell me about your vision." This was it. My moment. I took a breath and began to speak. If you're already hooked on Michaela's journey from erasure to emergence, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me, have you ever had to rebuild yourself after someone made you feel small? Because this story is just getting started. And trust me, you don't want to miss what happens when Rome realizes what he lost. Stay with me. Chapter 2. Alfred Delfino stood before my presentation boards with the kind of attention that made time slow down. He wasn't just looking, he was studying, absorbing, understanding the intention behind every design choice. "Tell me about your vision," he had said, and I could feel Rome's eyes burning into my back from across the ballroom. I steadied my voice. The Michaela Project reimagines luxury hospitality through the lens of cultural celebration. Each space honors Black artists, architects, and innovators who've been erased from design history. But this isn't a museum. It's a living, breathing experience where guests don't just observe culture, they're immersed in it. Alfred's dark eyes met mine. "Go on." I walked him through the concept. The lobby features a suspended art installation by emerging Black sculptors that changes with the seasons. Guest rooms are named after Harlem. Renaissance figures, with design elements that tell their stories. The restaurant showcases African diaspora cuisine, elevated to fine dining. Every touchpoint celebrates heritage without making it a gimmick. "Why does this matter to you?" Alfred asked. It wasn't a business question, it was personal. I hesitated, then chose honesty. Because I spent 9 years making myself palatable, straightening my hair, softening my voice, designing spaces that were universal, which really meant white and safe and forgettable. I erased myself to fit someone else's vision of acceptable. This project is me refusing to be erased anymore. Something shifted in Alfred's expression, recognition maybe, or respect. "The financial projections," he asked, back to business. I handed him a folder. "Conservative estimates show 73% occupancy in year 1, breaking even by month 18. The cultural programming creates additional revenue streams and positions the property as more than just a hotel. It's a destination." Alfred flipped through the numbers, his expression unreadable. Behind him, I could see Rome moving closer, Amber trailing behind, Viola following with predatory interest. "Miss Walker," Alfred said, closing the folder. "I'd like to—" "Michaela," Rome's voice cut through the moment like broken glass. We both turned. Rome approached with his practiced smile, the one he used for business negotiations and uncomfortable family dinners. "Rome," I said evenly, my tone professional and cold. He looked between Alfred and me, confusion flickering across his face. "I didn't realize you were presenting tonight. This is quite a surprise." "Is it?" I asked. "I've been working in design for months. But then again, you never really paid attention to what I did." The barb landed. Rome's jaw tightened. "That's not fair." "Mr. Millstone," Alfred interjected smoothly, his voice carrying quiet authority. "I'm in the middle of a consultation, if you'll excuse us." Rome's face flushed. He wasn't used to being dismissed, especially not in his family's hotel. Of course. I just wanted to say hello to my—" He caught himself. "To Michaela." "You've said it," I replied. "Goodbye, Rome." Amber appeared at his elbow, her smile sharp. "Michaela, what a lovely project. So ethnic and niche. Very brave of you." The condescension dripped like honey over poison. I'd dealt with Viola's version of this for 9 years. I recognized the weapon. "Thank you, Amber," I said with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "How's married life? Everything you expected?" Her smile faltered. Rome's hand found the small of her back, possessive, performative. "We should circulate," he said. "Important people to see." They walked away, but not before I caught Amber glancing back, something uncertain in her expression. Alfred watched them go, then turned back to me. "Ex-husband? Does it show?" "Only in how hard he's pretending not to care." Alfred's lips curved slightly. "And in how thoroughly you just handled that." I laughed, surprised by his perception. "Is that a good thing or a bad thing for business?" "It's an excellent thing," Alfred said. "I don't work with people who can't stand their ground. Now, let's talk about the real numbers. How much would it cost to actually build this?" My heart started racing. For a 50-room boutique property, 12 to 15 million depending on location and finishes. And if I gave you 8 million to design a cultural center as part of my downtown development project. Similar concept, but focused on event spaces, galleries, and community programming. I stared at him, certain I'd misheard. "I'm sorry, did you say 8 million? "I did. I'm developing a mixed-use property in downtown Brooklyn. Tech offices, luxury residential, retail. I want a cultural anchor, something that brings soul to the steel and glass. Your vision fits exactly what I'm looking for." He pulled out a business card. "My office will contact you on Monday to discuss the scope and budget. If you're interested, of course." If I was interested, I was holding an $8 million opportunity in my hands while my ex-husband watched from across the room. "I'm very interested," I managed. Alfred extended his hand. "Then I look forward to working with you, Miss Walker. Something tells me you're going to change the landscape of this industry." His handshake was firm, warm, and when he smiled, it reached his eyes, a genuineness I hadn't expected from a billionaire. He turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing. That ex-husband of yours, his loss is the industry's gain. Remember that." I watched him walk away, his security team materializing around him as he exited the ballroom. I looked down at the business card in my hand, then across the room where Rome stood frozen, champagne glass suspended halfway to his lips, staring at me with something that looked a lot like shock. Carla appeared out of nowhere, grabbing my arm. Girl, did Alfred Delfino just offer you a contract?" "I think so," I whispered. "I think he just changed my life." "Damn right he did." Carla pulled me into a hug. "Do you know what this means? You're about to be the most sought-after designer in the city, and Rome gets to watch it happen. Oh, this is delicious. This is poetry." The showcase continued around us, but I was floating. Other designers presented their concepts, judges circulated, but all I could think about was the card in my hand and the future it represented. At the end of the evening, awards were announced. Third place went to a minimalist concept, second place to an eco-friendly design. And first place, the MC announced, for vision, innovation, and cultural impact, the Michaela Project by Michaela Walker. The applause erupted. I walked to the stage on legs that didn't quite feel real, accepted the award, a crystal trophy and a feature in Architectural Digest, and gave a short speech about the importance of designing spaces that reflect all of us, not just some of us. When I stepped off the stage, Rome was waiting. "We need to talk," he said, his voice tight. "No, we really don't." "Michaela, please." There was something desperate in his eyes. "Just 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I followed him to a quiet alcove near the ballroom service entrance. Old habits, old patterns. "That was impressive," Rome said, and he actually sounded sincere. "Your presentation, the award. I had no idea you were capable of what?" I interrupted. "Of being good at my job, of having a vision. Rome, I did this for 9 years. I just did it for your family instead of myself." He ran his hand through his hair, that stressed gesture I knew so well. "I made a mistake, leaving you. I see that now." My laugh came out bitter. You see that now? After I win an award and land a major contract? Where was this revelation 6 months ago when you were marrying Amber? Amber is... He trailed off, searching for words he couldn't find. Amber is what you chose, I finished. She's your wife, Rome. Your problem, not mine. It's not like that with her, he said quietly. She doesn't understand me the way you did. Oh my God, I said, the realization hitting. You want me to feel sorry for you? You cheated on me, married your mistress, and now you want sympathy because she's not living up to the fantasy? That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying? My voice rose. Because it sounds a lot like you expected me to stay broken. You thought I'd be crying into my wine while you played happy family with Barbie. But I'm not broken, Rome. I'm better. He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. You're different. No, I corrected. I'm the same woman I always was. You just never bothered to really look. Footsteps approached. We both turned. Viola Millstone stood there in her signature pearls, her face a mask of aristocratic disapproval. Rome, darling, Amber's looking for you, she said, then turned her ice-blue eyes on me. Michaela, what a surprising performance this evening. Mrs. Millstone, I replied with deliberate courtesy that bordered on mockery. I must say, I didn't expect to see you here. This showcase is typically for serious professionals, not... Not what? I interrupted, something dangerous entering my voice. Not divorced women? Not black designers? Not people you've spent years trying to erase? Viola's nostrils flared. I will not be spoken to this way. Then stop speaking to me at all, I said. You don't get to criticize me anymore. You don't get to make me feel small. I don't work for your family. I don't answer to you. And frankly, Mrs. Millstone, your opinion means absolutely nothing to me. The shock on her face was worth 9 years of swallowed words. Rome stepped forward. Michaela, that's my mother. And she's been cruel to me since the day we met, I said, looking at him. You let her tear me down. You never defended me. Not once. So forgive me if I'm not interested in protecting her feelings now. I walked away before either of them could respond, my heart pounding but my head high. Carla met me at the coat check, already holding my jacket. I saw that from across the room. You okay? I'm perfect, I said, and meant it. Monday morning arrived with a phone call from Alfred Delfino's office. His assistant, a crisp-voiced woman named Patricia, scheduled a meeting for Wednesday at 10 a.m. I spent Tuesday in a panic, revising my portfolio, practicing presentations, and trying on 6 different outfits before Carla intervened. Wear the navy wrap dress with the gold accessories, she commanded. Professional but powerful. And for God's sake, breathe. The man already wants to hire you. This is just the formality. Wednesday morning, I stood outside the Delfino Tower in downtown Manhattan, staring up at the gleaming structure. The building was beautiful, all glass and clean lines, with an art installation in the lobby that took my breath away. The elevator ride to the 42nd floor felt like ascending to another world. Alfred's office was understated elegance. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. The furniture was mid-century modern mixed with contemporary art. Everything spoke of taste without ostentation. He stood when I entered, moving around his desk to greet me with a warm handshake. Miss Walker, thank you for coming. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Delfino. Alfred, please. He gestured to a seating area by the windows. Can I offer you coffee? Water? Coffee would be great. He poured 2 cups from a French press on the side table, prepared his black, and waited while I added cream. The simple courtesy felt significant after years of Rome expecting me to serve. I've been thinking about your project all weekend, Alfred began, settling into the chair across from me. The cultural center concept aligns perfectly with my vision for the Brooklyn development, but I want to understand your process. Walk me through how you approach design. For the next hour, we talked. Not just about work, but about philosophy, why spaces matter, how design can honor history while pushing forward, the responsibility of creating places where people feel seen. Alfred listened with complete focus, asking questions that showed he understood not just business, but soul. I lost my wife 3 years ago. Cancer. It took another year before I could even think about being social again, let alone open to connection. I'm not rushing this because I'm desperate or trying to fill a void. I'm moving toward you because for the first time in years, I actually want to. That's how I know you're different. The vulnerability surprised me. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. He paused. She would have loved your vision, the way you refuse to compromise culture for comfort. That's rare in this industry. It's easier to refuse compromise when you've already lost everything, I admitted. When you hit rock bottom, you realize you've got nothing left to lose by being yourself. Alfred studied me. The showcase. That man who interrupted us. Your ex-husband. Rome Millstone, I confirmed. I was married to him for 9 years. I worked for his family's company. I folded into his shadow so he could feel bigger. Classic story. Not that classic, Alfred said. Most people don't find their way back from that kind of erasure. You did. That takes strength. Something warm bloomed in my chest. Not attraction, not yet, but recognition. This man saw me. Really saw me. So, Alfred said, pulling out a folder, let's talk about the actual project. The Cultural Center will be 15,000 square feet, 3 gallery spaces, a performance venue, community classrooms, and a cafe. I want it to be a hub, somewhere the neighborhood can gather, create, and celebrate. Your job is to make that vision tangible. He slid the folder across. Inside were architectural plans, budgets, timelines. The budget is $8 million, as discussed. Timeline is 18 months from concept to completion. You'll work with my construction team and have final say on all design elements. I don't micromanage. I hire experts and trust them. I scanned the numbers, hardly believing this was real. This is incredibly generous. It's an investment, Alfred corrected, in the community, in culture, and yes, in you. I believe in betting on talent. And Miss Walker, you're exceptionally talented. We spent another hour working through logistics, discussing contractors, reviewing timelines. When I finally left his office, I had a signed contract in my bag and a future that felt limitless. In the elevator, I let myself have a moment of pure, unfiltered joy. I'd done it, not because of Rome, not despite Rome, completely separate from Rome. I'd done it because I was good enough. My phone rang. Carla. How did it go? She demanded before I even said hello. I got it, all of it. $8 million, full creative control, 18-month timeline. Her scream nearly deafened me. I knew it. Oh my God, we're celebrating. Dinner tonight, my treat, and you're telling me everything. But before I could respond, another call beeped through. Unknown number. Carla, I've got another call. Take it, it's probably another billionaire wanting to hire you. I'll text you restaurant details. Love you. I switched calls. Hello? Michaela Walker? A woman's voice, professional but cold. Speaking. This is Amber Hutton. Amber Millstone now. We need to talk. My good mood evaporated. About what? About you staying away from my husband. I actually laughed. Excuse me? Rome told me about your conversation at the showcase. Whatever you think you're doing, playing successful to make him jealous, it needs to stop. The audacity was breathtaking. Amber, I'm going to say this once, slowly, so you understand. I don't want Rome. I don't think about Rome. I'm not doing anything to make Rome feel anything. I'm living my life. If that threatens you, that's your problem, not mine. He still has feelings for you, she said, and there was something vulnerable underneath the aggression. I can tell. He talks about you constantly. Compares everything I do to how you did it. I'm starting to think I'm just a placeholder. Despite everything, I felt a flicker of sympathy. Amber, I can't fix your marriage. That's between you and Rome. I know, she said quietly. I needed to hear it from you. That it wasn't me. That he was like this with you too. He was, I confirmed, and it only got worse. I'm sorry you're learning this the hard way. She hung up without another word. I didn't know it then, but that conversation planted the seed. It would take her a few more months to actually leave, but the doubt had taken root. I stood on the sidewalk outside Delfino Tower, watching the city move around me, and felt the strangest mixture of emotions. Victory, yes. Relief, absolutely. but also sadness for the woman I'd just spoken to, the one learning the same painful lessons I'd already survived. That evening, Carla and I celebrated at her favorite Caribbean restaurant in Brooklyn. Over curry goat and plantains, I told her everything: Alfred's project, the contract terms, Amber's phone call. "That woman called you?" Carla's fork clattered to her plate. The audacity, the absolute audacity of calling the ex-wife because your husband can't stop talking about her. That's not your problem to solve. "I know," I said, "but Carla, I felt sorry for her. She's where I was, competing with a ghost, trying to be enough for a man who doesn't know how to value what he has." Carla reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "You know what this means, right? You've already won. He's married to someone else and still can't let you go. Meanwhile, you're out here building empires and having billionaires fight to work with you. You've already won." I smiled, letting that truth settle. "I guess I have." My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "This is Alfred. I hope this isn't too forward, but I have 2 tickets to a gallery opening Friday night. Would you like to join me? Purely professional. Good networking opportunity, but also the artist is incredible, and I think you'd appreciate the work." I showed Carla the message. Her eyes went wide. "Girl," she breathed, "the billionaire is asking you out." "It's professional," I protested. "It's interested," she corrected, "and you should say yes. I just got divorced 9 months ago. I'm not saying marry the man. I'm saying go to a gallery opening with someone who respects your work and sees your value. When's the last time you did something just because it might be nice?" She had a point. I typed out a response. "I'd love to. Thank you for thinking of me." His reply was immediate. "Looking forward to it. I'll send a car for you at 7. Carla grinned. "And so it begins." "Nothing's beginning," I said, but my heart was beating faster. "Sure, honey," Carla said, sipping her wine. "Keep telling yourself that." The next few days passed in a blur of work and preparation. I started preliminary sketches for the Cultural Center, met with Alfred's construction team, and began assembling my design team. I also went shopping with Carla for the gallery opening, because apparently my wardrobe of former corporate wife clothes wasn't appropriate for emerging designer being courted by billionaire. "We're not using the word courted," I protested as she held up a black dress with a dangerously open back. "We're absolutely using that word," Carla said, "because that man is courting you whether you want to admit it or not. Now try this on." The dress was stunning, elegant but daring, sophisticated but sexy. When I emerged from the dressing room, Carla actually teared up. "That's the one," she declared. "That's the dress of a woman who knows her worth." Friday evening arrived with surprising nerves. I did my makeup carefully, arranged my natural hair in an elegant updo, and slipped into the black dress. Looking in the mirror, I barely recognized myself, not because I looked different, but because I looked like me, fully present, unapologetic. The car Alfred sent was a sleek black town car with a driver named James who greeted me like I was royalty. The gallery was in Chelsea, a converted warehouse with white walls and perfect lighting. The opening was already crowded with artists, collectors, and people who looked like they belonged in magazines. Alfred stood near the entrance, speaking with a small group. He wore a dark suit that looked custom-made, and when he saw me, his face lit up in a way that made my stomach flip. "Michaela," he said, excusing himself from his conversation. "You look stunning." "Thank you. This place is incredible." "Wait until you see the art." He offered his arm. "Shall we?" I took it, and we entered the main gallery space. The art was breathtaking. Large-scale paintings that explored themes of identity, displacement, and belonging. Each piece told a story that felt both personal and universal. Alfred watched me react, rather than looking at the art himself. "You really love this," he observed. "I do," I admitted. "It's like the artist put feelings on canvas that I didn't know how to name. That's exactly why I wanted you to see it." He gestured to a painting of a woman composed of fractured mirrors reflecting different versions of herself. "This one reminded me of what you said about making yourself smaller, how you're reclaiming all the pieces now." The fact that he remembered, that he saw the connection, it meant something. We spent 2 hours moving through the gallery, discussing art and design, discovering shared tastes and friendly disagreements. Alfred was knowledgeable but not pretentious, passionate but not overbearing. Talking to him felt easy in a way that talking to Rome never had. At one point, he introduced me to the artist, a young black woman named Simone, who lit up when Alfred praised her work. Michaela is the designer I told you about, Alfred said. She's creating the cultural center I mentioned. Simone's eyes widened. Oh my God, I'd love to be involved somehow. This sounds amazing. We should talk, I said, pulling out a business card. I'm looking for artists to feature. As Simone walked away, Alfred smiled at me. You're a natural at this. At what? Building community, seeing connections, making people feel valued. It's a gift. The compliment settled warm in my chest. Later, we got champagne and stood near the windows overlooking the city. Can I ask you something personal? Alfred said. That depends on the question. At the showcase, when your ex-husband approached, you handled that with such grace. How did you get there? That kind of peace after pain. I considered the question. Therapy helped. So did time. But mostly, I realized that holding on to anger was like drinking poison and expecting him to die. Forgiveness isn't about him deserving it. It's about me deserving peace. Alfred nodded slowly. When my wife died, people kept telling me to move on, like grief had an expiration date, like I could just decide to stop hurting. But healing isn't linear, is it? No, I agreed softly. It's not. I'm telling you this because I want you to know. I'm not looking for a replacement. I'm not trying to fill a void. But I am learning to be open again, to connection, to possibility. He turned to face me fully. And something about you, Michaela, makes me want to be brave enough to try. My breath caught. This wasn't a business conversation anymore. Alfred, I started, but my phone rang. Rome's name flashed on the screen. Alfred saw it. You should take that. I really shouldn't, I said, but the phone kept ringing. Finally, I answered. What, Rome? Michaela, thank God, I need to see you. It's important. We have nothing to discuss. Please, I'm outside your apartment. I've been waiting for 2 hours. I just need to talk to you. Alarm bells rang. Rome, you can't just show up at my place. I know, but this couldn't wait. Please, Michaela, 10 minutes. I looked at Alfred, who was watching with concern. I have to go, I said to Rome. But we're having this conversation now, on the phone. Say what you need to say. Silence. Then, I'm leaving Amber. The words hung between us like a grenade with the pin pulled. That's not my problem, I said, but my voice shook. I made a mistake. The biggest mistake of my life. You were right about everything. I let my mother control me. I took you for granted. I was a coward, but I'm trying to fix it now. I'm trying to what? I interrupted. Win me back? Rome, I don't want you back. I don't want your apologies or your regret. I want you to leave me alone. Just meet with me, once. Let me explain. No, I said firmly. Goodbye, Rome. I hung up and blocked the number. Alfred was silent, giving me space to process. I'm sorry, I said. That was your ex-husband realizing he made a terrible mistake, Alfred finished. You don't need to apologize. It's just, this is a lot. The project, this, I gestured between us, whatever this is. And now Rome is imploding. I don't want to bring that chaos into... Michaela, Alfred interrupted gently. I'm not asking you to have everything figured out. I'm just asking if you'd like to have dinner with me next week. Just dinner. No pressure, no expectations. Just two people who enjoy talking to each other. I looked at him. This man who saw my potential before my pain, who respected my boundaries, who wasn't trying to rescue me but walked beside me. I'd like that, I said. His smile was genuine, warm. Good. Then let's consider tonight a success. As we left the gallery, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not the desperate kind that needs validation, but the quiet kind that comes from knowing you're exactly where you're supposed to be. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, different from Rome's. It was Viola. We need to discuss your inappropriate pursuit of my son. This ends now. I showed it to Alfred. He frowned. That's harassment. That's vintage Viola, I said, typing a response. Mrs. Millstone, your son pursued me. I blocked him. I'm not interested in him, your family, or your opinions. Please don't contact me again. Send. Block. There, I said. Done. Alfred looked impressed. You're really good at setting boundaries. I'm getting better at it, I corrected. Practice makes perfect. As James drove me home that night, I reflected on how much had changed in 9 months. I'd gone from broken to building, from erased to emerging, from someone's ex-wife to my own woman. And maybe, just maybe, I was ready to be open to something new. But first, I had a cultural center to design and an empire to build. The rest could wait. What would you do if your ex showed up trying to win you back after they'd already moved on? Because, honey, things are about to get messy, and I mean that in the best way possible. See you there. Chapter 3. 6 weeks after the showcase, 6 weeks of non-stop design work, client meetings, and stolen dinners with Alfred, the invitation arrived on thick cream cardstock with gold embossing. The Millstone Foundation Annual Charity Gala. Black tie. Millstone Grand Hotel. November 15th. I stared at it like it might bite. Carla picked it up from my kitchen counter, reading with raised eyebrows. "Girl, why did they send you this?" "I'm still on the mailing list from when I used to plan these events," I said. "I should have been removed from the database, but apparently nobody bothered." "Or," Carla suggested, "somebody wants you there." My phone rang. Alfred's name lit up the screen. "Tell me you got an invitation to the Millstone Gala," he said without preamble. I did. "I'm not going." "What if I asked you to reconsider?" I paused. "Why would you want to go to Rome's family event?" "Because I'm a major sponsor," Alfred explained. "I've been donating to the Millstone Foundation for years. It's tedious, but it's good for business. However, if you were there, it might actually be enjoyable." "Alfred, before you say no, let me be clear about what I'm asking. I'd like you to attend as my guest. Not to prove anything to your ex-husband, but because I enjoy your company and I'm tired of going to these things alone. Also," his voice held a smile, "the irony of showing up together at his family's hotel is not lost on me." I laughed despite myself. "You're terrible." "I'm honest. There's a difference. Will you come?" I thought about it. The old Michaela would have hidden, avoided confrontation, made herself small, but I wasn't her anymore. "Yes," I said. "I'll come." Carla, who'd been listening shamelessly, pumped her fist in the air. "Excellent," Alfred said, sounding genuinely pleased. "I'll send a car for you at 7, and Michaela, wear something that makes you feel powerful." The week leading up to the gala was chaos. I was deep into the cultural center design, managing contractors, and fielding calls from potential clients who'd heard about the project. My small consulting business was becoming an actual firm, and I was hiring my first employee, a young black designer named Tyrell, who reminded me of myself 5 years ago, full of talent and hunger to prove it. But despite the work, my mind kept drifting to Saturday night, to walking back into the Millstone Grand Hotel, to seeing Rome with Amber on his arm, pretending their marriage wasn't falling apart, to being seen with Alfred. Thursday afternoon, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Michaela Walker?" A woman's voice, professional and cold. Speaking. "This is Catherine Bradford, attorney for Rome Millstone. I'm calling to request that you cease all contact with my client." I blinked. "Excuse me?" "Mr. Millstone has informed me that you've been harassing him, showing up at his workplace, calling repeatedly, attempting to interfere with his marriage." "That's a lie," I interrupted, anger rising hot in my throat. "Rome has been the one showing up at my apartment, calling me, sending messages. I've blocked him on everything. Nevertheless, Mrs. Ms. Walker, my client wishes to make it clear that any further contact will be considered harassment and may result in legal action." The audacity was stunning. "Let me be very clear, Catherine. I have zero interest in Rome Millstone. He contacted me. He showed up at my home uninvited. If anyone's being harassed, it's me. And if your client sends one more message, one more call, one more unwanted contact of any kind, my attorney will be filing a restraining order. Are we clear?" Silence. Then, more carefully, "I'll relay that message to my client." "You do that." I hung up, shaking with rage. "Carla came over that night with wine and righteous fury. He's trying to gaslight you through a lawyer? That man is spiraling." "It's Viola," I said. This has her fingerprints all over it. She's trying to control the narrative, make me look like the problem. Well, it's not going to work, Carla said firmly. You've got receipts. You've got text messages. You've got that voicemail where he literally says he's outside your apartment. Let them try something. Please, let them try. Friday evening, Carla insisted on coming over to help me get ready for the gala. She brought her entire makeup kit, a curling wand, and a bottle of champagne. This is war paint, she declared, setting up in my bathroom, and you're going into battle looking like a goddess. The dress I'd chosen was deep emerald green, a color that made my brown skin glow. It had a halter neckline, an open back, and a slit that showed just enough leg to be daring without being desperate. I'd decided to wear my hair down, styled in loose waves that cascaded past my shoulders. Carla did my makeup, subtle but striking, with gold accents that caught the light. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I looked powerful, confident, untouchable. Damn, Carla breathed. Rome is going to lose his entire mind. I'm not doing this for Rome, I reminded her. I know. That's what makes it perfect. At 6:45, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Alfred standing there in a tailored tuxedo that probably cost more than my monthly rent. He stared. Actually stared. You look... He trailed off, searching for words. Powerful, I suggested with a smile. Devastating, he corrected, in the best possible way. The town car ride to the Millstone Grand Hotel felt surreal. I'd made this drive hundreds of times as Rome's wife, as the lead event director, as the woman behind the scenes. But never like this. Never as a guest, never as myself. Alfred must have sensed my tension. He reached over and took my hand. You don't have to prove anything to anyone tonight, he said quietly. You've already won. Everything else is just showing up. His words steadied me. The Millstone Grand Hotel sparkled like a jewel against the Manhattan skyline. Valets rushed to open car doors. Photographers lined the red carpet, a touch Viola had added 3 years ago to make the charity gala feel more exclusive. When Alfred and I stepped out of the car, camera flashes exploded like lightning. Mr. Delfino, who's your date? Is this business or pleasure? Miss, what's your name? Alfred kept his hand on the small of my back, guiding me through the chaos with practiced ease. We paused briefly for photos, his idea, not mine, and I forced myself to smile naturally, to own this moment. Inside, the Grandview Ballroom was transformed. Crystal chandeliers that I'd personally selected 5 years ago sparkled overhead. Tables draped in champagne silk, my color, choice from 3 galas ago, surrounded a dance floor that gleamed like ice. Fresh peonies, Viola's favorite, overflowed from enormous centerpieces. I'd created this, the aesthetic, the atmosphere, the invisible architecture of elegance. And now I was walking through it as a guest, not the architect. The irony was delicious. Michaela? I turned to find Marcus Jennings approaching with his husband, David. Marcus pulled me into a hug. Look at you, he said, absolutely stunning. And with Alfred Delfino? Girl, you're out here making moves. We chatted briefly, Marcus introducing me to several other designers and industry people who'd heard about the Cultural Center project. I exchanged business cards, made connections, felt myself relaxing into the evening. And then I saw them. Rome and Amber stood near the bar. She wore a white cocktail dress, too bridal for a charity gala, and clutched Rome's arm like a lifeline. He looked tired, older somehow, the easy confidence I'd once admired replaced with something brittle. His eyes found mine across the room. The recognition, the shock, the want, it all flickered across his face in rapid succession. Amber followed his gaze. When she saw me with Alfred, her grip on Rome's arm tightened until her knuckles went white. Do you want to leave? Alfred asked quietly. No, I said, lifting my chin. I want to stay. We moved through the crowd, Alfred introducing me to investors and philanthropists, treating me like a colleague worth knowing rather than just his date. Several people recognized my name from the showcase, asked about the Cultural Center, requested my card. I was networking, building, thriving. Rome watched it all from across the room, his expression growing darker by the minute. An hour into the event, I excused myself to the ladies' room. The bathroom was luxurious, marble everything, fresh flowers, attendant in the corner. I touched up my lipstick, took a breath, prepared to return to the ballroom. The door opened. Viola Millstone walked in wearing diamonds and disdain. Our eyes met in the mirror. "Michaela," she said, my name like something distasteful on her tongue. "I'm surprised you had the audacity to show your face here." "Why?" I asked calmly. "It's a charity event. I support the cause." "You're here to flaunt that man in front of my son," Viola corrected, moving closer. "Using some wealthy benefactor to make Rome jealous. It's pathetic." I turned to face her directly. "Mrs. Millstone, I'm here because Alfred Delfino invited me. What Rome feels about it is not my concern." "You've always been so calculating," she continued, her voice venomous, "marrying into our family, taking advantage of our resources, and now spreading lies about my son harassing you." "Those aren't lies," I interrupted. "Trying to sabotage his marriage with that poor girl Amber. You couldn't keep him satisfied, so now you want to destroy his happiness." The words landed like slaps, but I'd heard worse from this woman. Survived worse. "I couldn't keep him satisfied?" I repeated slowly. "Mrs. Millstone, your son cheated on me. He left me for another woman. He married her 6 months after our divorce. None of that was my choice or my fault. Perhaps if you'd been more," she paused delicately, "suitable, more aligned with our family's values and standards. Rome needed someone who understood his world." "You mean someone white?" I said flatly. The bathroom door opened. 2 women walked in, socialites I vaguely recognized from previous galas. They stopped, sensing the tension. Viola's face flushed. "That is not what I meant." "Yes, it is," I said, my voice steady and clear. "For 9 years you made comments about my hair being urban, my family being different, my background being unconventional. You questioned whether I understood classical music, fine art, proper etiquette. You asked if I'd grown up with certain cultural advantages. Every word was code for, 'You're not white enough for my son.'" "How dare you?" "No, how dare you?" I interrupted, something fierce rising in my chest. "You spent 9 years trying to make me feel small, inadequate, wrong. You criticized everything about me while taking credit for everything I did. I made your son look good. I made your events legendary. I made your family's hotel the place everyone wanted to be. And you treated me like I was temporary, like I was tolerable until Rome could trade up." The 2 women by the door were openly staring now, recording this moment in their minds for later retelling. Viola's face had gone pale. "This is inappropriate." "What's inappropriate," I said, "is a mother who encouraged her son to cheat, who approved his affair because the other woman looked right, who spent months trying to rewrite history to make me the villain. But you know what, Mrs. Millstone? I'm done caring about your opinion. I'm done trying to earn your approval. You don't get to make me feel small anymore." I moved toward the door, then paused. "Oh, and one more thing. That dress Amber's wearing? I picked it out for your 30th anniversary gala 3 years ago. I designed this entire event aesthetic. Everything you're taking credit for tonight, I built it. So when you stand up there and accept congratulations for another successful Millstone Foundation gala, remember who actually made it possible." I walked out, leaving Viola speechless in the marble bathroom. My hands were shaking, but my head was high. I returned to the ballroom to find Alfred speaking with a group of tech executives. He saw me, excused himself immediately, and came over. "Everything all right?" he asked, reading something in my expression. Viola cornered me in the bathroom. His jaw tightened. "What happened?" "I happened," I said. "I finally said everything I should have said 9 years ago." Before Alfred could respond, the lights dimmed. Viola appeared on stage, microphone in hand, her composure restored. "Welcome, everyone, to the 25th Annual Millstone Foundation Charity Gala," she began, her voice smooth as silk. "Tonight, we celebrate not just philanthropic giving, but the values that make our community strong: family, tradition, and the importance of maintaining the standards that define excellence." As she spoke, I felt Alfred's hand find mine. "She's talking about you," he murmured. "I know." "Does it hurt?" "Not anymore," I realized. "She's just noise now." After Viola's speech, the dancing began. Alfred led me to the floor as a jazz ensemble played something slow and smooth. "You're full of surprises," he said as we swayed, standing up to Viola Millstone. That woman terrifies most people. She used to terrify me, I admitted. But I realized something in that bathroom. Her power was only what I gave her. The moment I stopped caring about her approval, she became irrelevant. Alfred pulled back slightly to look at me. You're extraordinary. You know that? Before I could respond, someone tapped Alfred's shoulder. Rome stood there, his face flushed from champagne or anger or both. May I cut in? He asked, but it wasn't really a question. No, Alfred said simply. I'm talking to Michaela, not you, Rome snapped. And Michaela is dancing with me, Alfred replied, his tone pleasant but unyielding. So the answer is no. Rome's eyes blazed. Michaela, we need to talk, privately. We really don't, I said. Please, Rome said, and there was something desperate in his voice. 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking. Rome, you're making a scene, I said quietly. Go back to your wife. My wife? He laughed bitterly. My wife is in the bathroom crying because she knows I'm still in love with you. The words hung in the air like smoke. Around us, people were starting to notice, starting to stare. That's not my problem, I said, but my voice shook. It is your problem because you ruined me, Rome said, his voice rising. You're haunting me, Michaela. Every day, every decision, everything reminds me of what I lost, and now you're here with him. He gestured at Alfred, rubbing it in my face. Mr. Millstone, Alfred interrupted, his voice cold as winter. You need to leave, now. Or what? Rome challenged. You'll have me thrown out of my own family's hotel? Yes, Alfred said simply, because unlike you, I actually respect when a woman says no. The truth of that statement hit Rome like a physical blow. His face crumpled. Michaela, he tried one more time. Please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was wrong about everything. Just give me a chance to what? I interrupted. To explain why you cheated? To justify why you chose your mother over your wife? To apologize for 9 years of making me feel like I was never quite good enough? I shook my head. Rome, I've moved on. You should too. You haven't moved on, he said, gesturing between Alfred and me. This is just revenge. You're using him to... That's enough, Alfred said, and something dangerous entered his voice. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. Within seconds, hotel security appeared. Everything all right, Mr. Delfino? The head of security asked. Mr. Millstone is leaving, Alfred said. Please escort him out. Rome's face went white. You can't throw me out. This is my family's... This is a private event, Alfred interrupted, and as the primary sponsor, I absolutely can have you removed. The question is whether you leave quietly or make more of a scene. For a long moment, Rome just stood there, his eyes locked on mine. I saw everything in his face, regret, anger, pain, loss, everything I'd felt 9 months ago when he destroyed our marriage. I loved you, he said quietly. I really did. No, I corrected gently. You loved what I did for you. There's a difference. Security began moving him toward the exit. Amber appeared from somewhere, rushing after him, her white dress a blur of expensive fabric and bad decisions. The room erupted in whispers. Alfred's arm went around my waist, steadying me. Do you want to leave? I looked around. Every eye in the ballroom was on us. The orchestra had stopped playing. Viola stood frozen near the stage, her face a mask of horror. This was it. The moment that would define how people saw me, as a victim, as a homewrecker, as a woman who couldn't handle the drama, or as a woman who refused to be diminished. I took a breath and looked at Alfred. Dance with me. He blinked. What? I said, dance with me, right now, right here, in front of everyone. Understanding dawned in his eyes. A slow smile spread across his face. It would be my pleasure. He pulled me close as the orchestra, reading the room perfectly, began playing again. We danced, just the two of us at first, then other couples joining in, the moment of scandal dissolving into normalcy. But it wasn't normal. It was revolutionary. Because I was dancing in the ballroom I had designed with a man who valued me, while my ex-husband was escorted out of his own family's hotel. I was dancing in the space where I'd once made myself invisible, now impossible to ignore. I was dancing, and I was free. The song ended. Alfred pulled back, his eyes searching mine. You're shaking. Adrenaline, I admitted. Let's get some air. We moved through the crowd to the terrace overlooking the city. The cool night air was a relief after the stifling ballroom. Behind us, the party continued. People would gossip, speculate, judge, but out here, in the quiet, it was just us. Thank you, I said, for having my back in there. Always, Alfred replied, though I suspect you didn't really need me. You were handling it perfectly on your own. I don't know about that. I was about 2 seconds from completely losing it. But you didn't, he pointed out. You stood your ground. You chose dignity over drama. That takes strength most people don't have. I leaned against the railing, looking out at the city lights. Do you think I'm heartless? He was clearly in pain. He created his own pain, Alfred interrupted gently. You're not responsible for managing his regrets. That's not heartless, that's healthy. We stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Alfred spoke again, his voice careful. Can I ask you something? Always. Is there any part of you that still loves him, that wants to give him another chance? I turned to face Alfred fully, considering the question with the honesty it deserved. No, I said finally. I loved who I thought he was, but that person either never existed or stopped existing years ago. What I feel now is pity, maybe, and relief that I'm not trapped in that anymore. But love? No, that died a long time ago. Good, Alfred said. Then, catching himself, I mean, not good that you're in pain, good that you're clear about where you stand. Why is that good? He stepped closer, his hand coming up to cup my face. Because I'm falling for you, Michaela, and I needed to know I wasn't competing with a ghost. My breath caught. Alfred, you don't have to say anything, he interrupted. I'm not asking for promises or declarations. I just wanted you to know where I stand. I see you, all of you, the strength, the talent, the vulnerability, the fire, and I want to be the kind of man who's worthy of that. Before I could respond, before I could think, I kissed him. Not a polite kiss, not a tentative kiss, a real kiss, full of months of building tension and attraction and possibility. When we finally pulled apart, Alfred was smiling. That was long overdue, I finished. Behind us, the terrace door opened. A photographer from the event, clearly having followed us, raised his camera. Flash. The photo captured us mid-embrace, the city lights sparkling behind us, both of us looking happy and unguarded and completely caught up in each other. That photo would be everywhere by morning. But in that moment, I didn't care, because I was finally, completely, undeniably myself. And that was worth every scandal. The ride home was quiet, both of us processing the evening. Alfred walked me to my door, a gentleman to the end. I'll call you tomorrow, he promised. I'll answer, I replied. He kissed me again, softer this time, sweeter. Then he left, and I went inside to find 17 missed calls from Carla and approximately 3,000 text messages. I called her back. Oh my God, she screamed before I could even say hello. I've been seeing photos all night. You kissed him? You kissed Alfred Delfino on the terrace while Rome was being escorted out by security? Michaela Walker, you are my hero. I laughed, collapsing onto my couch. It just kind of happened. It was iconic. Do you know what people are saying? They're calling it the kiss that broke the internet. Someone made a meme already. You're trending on Twitter. Rome is trending on Twitter. Even Viola is trending on Twitter. Oh, God. Oh, God is right, because, baby, you have arrived. The whole world just watched you choose yourself, stand up to your ex and kiss a billionaire. If this was a movie, I'd say it was unrealistic. But you lived it. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet of my apartment, processing everything. My phone kept buzzing with notifications, Instagram, Twitter, email. Everyone had an opinion about my life, my choices, my kiss. But for the first time in years, I didn't care what anyone thought. I was proud of myself. I'd walked into my past and walked out stronger. I'd faced my demons and refused to be diminished. I'd kissed a man who saw my worth and wasn't afraid of my strength. And tomorrow, I'd wake up and keep building the life I deserved. But tonight, I just sat in the dark, smiled to myself, and whispered the words I'd needed to hear for 9 years. You're enough, Michaela. You always were. Chapter 4. I woke up Sunday morning to my phone vibrating like it was having a seizure. The photo was everywhere. Alfred and me on the terrace, caught mid-kiss, the Manhattan skyline glittering behind us like we were starring in our own romantic movie. The lighting was perfect, the composition stunning, the emotion undeniable. The headlines were even better. Designer Michaela Walker and tech billionaire Alfred Delfino spark romance at charity gala. CEO's ex-wife moves on in style. Millstone's former partner seen with developer Alfred Delfino. From divorce to Delfino, Michaela Walker's incredible comeback story. But my favorite was from a Black lifestyle magazine. She built an empire while he watched the Michaela Walker effect. I scrolled through my phone, watching my life become public property. The comments section was split between people celebrating my happiness and people calling me a gold digger who'd traded one rich man for another. I was about to put my phone down when Carla's name flashed across the screen. "Have you seen the numbers?" she demanded. "What numbers?" "Your numbers. Your Instagram went from 8,000 followers to 63,000 overnight. Your business website crashed from traffic. You've got interview requests from Essence, Forbes, Architectural Digest, and Oprah's People. Oprah's People, Michaela." I sat up in bed, suddenly very awake. "What?" "Baby girl, you're not just trending. You're a movement. Black women are calling you inspiration. Design firms are trying to poach you, and I've gotten calls from 3 different literary agents asking if you'd consider writing a book." "A book about what?" "About this," Carla laughed. "About rebuilding after divorce, about reclaiming your power, about being black and brilliant in spaces that weren't designed for you. Michaela, you're not just living your best life, you're showing other women how to live theirs." After we hung up, I made coffee and sat by my window, watching the city wake up. My phone kept buzzing with notifications, but I ignored them all except one. A text from Alfred. "Good morning. How are you handling the IO circus?" Me. "Still deciding if I'm the ringmaster or just another act." Alfred. "You're definitely the ringmaster. Are you free for brunch? We should probably talk about the media situation." Me. "Your place or mine?" Alfred. "Neither. I'll send a car in an hour. Dress comfortable." The car took me to a private rooftop garden in Tribeca, one of those hidden New York spaces that only people with serious money know exist. Alfred was already there, setting up breakfast on a table surrounded by flowering plants and morning sunshine. "I thought we could use some peace before the storm," he said, pulling out my chair. Over coffee and croissants, we scrolled through the media coverage together. Some of it was sweet, celebrating our connection. Some of it was vicious, calling me a social climber who'd manipulated her way into Alfred's world. "They're going to tear you apart," Alfred said quietly. "They always do with successful women, especially successful black women. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about it. I've survived Rome and Viola Millstone for 9 years. I think I can handle internet trolls. "This is different," Alfred warned. "This is public, permanent. Everything you do will be scrutinized." "Then I'll make sure everything I do is worth scrutinizing," I replied. He smiled at that. "You're really something, Michaela Walker." "So I've been told." Alfred reached across the table, taking my hand. "I want you to know something. This," he gestured between us, "is real for me. Not a rebound, not a game, not a way to get press. I genuinely care about you, and I want to see where this goes. But only if you want that, too." "I do," I said. "But Alfred, I need you to understand something. I'm not looking for someone to save me or complete me. I'm looking for a partner, someone who walks beside me, not in front of me or behind me." "Good," Alfred said, "because that's exactly what I'm offering." My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "This is Amber. Can we please talk? In person. Just once." I showed it to Alfred. He frowned. "You don't owe her anything." "I know, but maybe she needs to hear what I needed to hear 9 months ago." I met Amber Tuesday afternoon at a quiet coffee shop in Brooklyn, far from Manhattan's gossiping eyes. She arrived early, looking nothing like the polished woman who'd worn white at the gala. Her hair was in a messy bun. Her face was makeup-free. She looked exhausted. "Thank you for coming," she said as I sat down. "You have 15 minutes, I replied, not unkindly. Amber took a shaky breath. "I'm leaving Rome." "Good for you." I mean it. I'm actually leaving. I've already moved my things out, filed for separation. She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. You were right about everything. He doesn't know how to love, he only knows how to possess. I'm sorry you had to learn that the hard way. I'm not here for sympathy, Amber said. I'm here to apologize for calling you when I should have been confronting him, for wearing that white dress to rub it in your face, for believing his version of your marriage. You weren't the problem. I see that now. I studied her. This woman who'd been my replacement, my antagonist, my cautionary tale. What changed? After the gala, after he was escorted out, he came home in a rage, not at the situation, at you. He spent hours ranting about how you'd embarrassed him, how you'd moved on too quickly, how you were using Alfred to make him jealous, and I realized it was never about me. I was just the person who was there when he needed to prove he didn't need you. But he does need you. Or at least, he needs to feel superior to you. And when you showed up successful and happy and in love, it broke something in him. That's not my fault, I said quietly. I know. That's what I told him. And he said, she paused, tears spilling over. He said that at least you knew your place. At least you understood that being a millstone wife meant being invisible. And I realized that's what he wants. A woman who disappears. A woman who makes him feel big by staying small. And you're not willing to be that woman? No, Amber said firmly. I'm not. I watched what you did at that gala, standing up to Viola, rejecting Rome publicly, choosing yourself, and I thought, that's what strength looks like. I want that. For myself. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Amber spoke again, her voice smaller. Can I ask you something? How did you do it? How did you walk away and not look back? Therapy, I said honestly, and time, and realizing that being alone was better than being with someone who made me feel lonely. It wasn't easy. Some days I still struggle, but every day that I choose myself, it gets a little easier. I'm scared, Amber admitted. Good, I said. Fear means you're doing something that matters. Feel it and do it anyway. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Thank you for meeting me, for being honest, for showing me what's possible. As we stood to leave, Amber hesitated. One more thing. Viola's in trouble. The board is pushing her out. Apparently, several people came forward about discriminatory behavior, comments she's made over the years about staff, partners, anyone who wasn't from the right background. The incident at the gala was just the final straw. I felt a flicker of satisfaction, not revenge, just justice. Good. Rome's trying to defend her, Amber continued, but it's making everything worse. The hotel's reputation is tanking. Investors are pulling out. Honestly, the whole Millstone empire is crumbling. She wasn't gloating, just stating facts. And somehow, hearing it from her made it real. Rome's kingdom was falling, and I hadn't even had to push. The following weeks were a whirlwind. My design firm officially launched, Walker Design Group, with Terrell as my first hire and 3 more designers joining within the month. We moved into a proper office in Soho, all exposed brick and natural light, and creative energy. The Cultural Center project was progressing beautifully. I'd assembled a team of Black architects, artists, and craftspeople. Every design meeting felt like coming home, being in a room full of people who understood the assignment, who didn't need me to explain why representation mattered, why telling our stories through space was revolutionary. Alfred attended most of the meetings, not to control, but to support. He asked smart questions, offered resources, and then stepped back to let us create. It was intoxicating, being trusted like that. Meanwhile, the media circus continued. I did interviews with Essence and Architectural Digest, talking about design philosophy and overcoming adversity. I didn't mention Rome unless asked directly, and even then, I kept it brief and dignified. He's part of my past, I told one reporter, but he doesn't get to define my future. That quote went viral. Women started using it as a mantra, posting it with photos of their own comebacks, their own strength. I'd accidentally become a symbol. One evening, Carla and I were in my office late, reviewing designs for a new client, a boutique hotel in Harlem that wanted to celebrate jazz history. You know what I love about this? Carla said, studying the sketches. You're not just designing pretty spaces. You're designing dignity. You're creating places where Black people can see themselves honored, celebrated, made visible. That's always been the goal, I said. I just finally have the platform to do it. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Michaela? A man's voice, hesitant. It's Rome. I put the phone on speaker so Carla could hear. How did you get this number? I blocked you. I got a new phone, new number. I know you didn't want to hear from me, but I needed to say something. You have 2 minutes. Silence. Then, I'm sorry. Not the sorry I said at the gala when I was desperate and drunk and trying to manipulate you back. I mean really sorry. For all of it. For cheating. For letting my mother treat you like you were less than. For making you shrink so I could feel bigger. For wasting 9 years of your life on a man who didn't deserve you. I waited. There had to be more. I'm in therapy, Rome continued. Real therapy, not just crisis management. And I'm learning things about myself that are uncomfortable. I'm learning that I have a pattern of devaluing the people who love me, of pushing away anything real in favor of what looks good, of choosing my mother's approval over my own happiness. That's good, Rome, I said carefully. I'm glad you're doing that work. I'm not calling to ask for another chance, he said quickly. I know that ship has sailed. I'm calling because you deserve to hear this. You were never the problem. You were brilliant and talented and more than enough. I was just too insecure to see it, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. My throat tightened. Not because I wanted him back, but because this was the apology I'd needed 9 months ago. The one that acknowledged the truth. Thank you, I said quietly. That means something. Amber left me, he continued. Mom's being forced into retirement. The hotel's losing money. Everything's falling apart. And honestly, I deserve it. I built my life on lies and appearances, and now it's all crumbling. Rome! I'm not asking for sympathy, he interrupted. I'm just saying I understand now. Why you left. Why you had to. And I hope someday I can build something real, something honest, the way you have. After we hung up, Carla let out a low whistle. Damn, that was actually genuine. Yeah, I said, surprised by my own emotions. It was. How do you feel? I thought about it. Sad for him. Grateful I'm not there anymore. And relieved that he's finally taking responsibility. That's growth, baby girl, Carla said. From both of you. 3 months later, the Cultural Center was ready for its soft opening. The space was everything I'd dreamed. Galleries filled with emerging Black artists, a 200-seat performance venue that would host jazz, poetry, and theater, classrooms where kids could learn music and art and design, and a cafe that served as a community gathering space with affordable prices and local art on the walls. The grand opening was invitation only, filled with press, investors, community leaders, and the artists whose work filled the walls. I stood in the main gallery looking at a massive mural by Simone, the artist I'd met at that first gallery opening with Alfred. The piece showed a Black woman emerging from water, drops becoming stars, darkness becoming light. It's called Michaela Rising, Simone said, appearing beside me. I was inspired by your story, by how you turned pain into power. I had to blink back tears. It's beautiful. You're beautiful, she corrected, and you gave me this platform. You gave all of us this platform. The evening was perfect. Alfred gave a speech about the importance of cultural investment. I gave a speech about designing spaces that honor our stories. Community members toured the facility with awe and joy. And then, near the end of the night, I saw him. Rome stood near the entrance, dressed simply in jeans and a sweater, looking uncomfortable but determined. I excused myself from a conversation and walked over. I know I wasn't invited, he said immediately. I just wanted to see it, what you built, and to say, he paused, searching for words. This is incredible, Michaela, really. You're changing the world. Thank you, I said, meaning it. I'm leaving the hotel business, Rome continued, going back to medicine, actually using that degree I never touched, starting over basically, being the person I should have been all along. I'm glad, I said, and I was, not vindictively but genuinely. Everyone deserves a chance to start over. even me, especially you. We stood there for a moment, two people who'd once shared a life, now standing in the ruins and the rebuilding. I won't bother you again, Rome said finally. I just wanted you to know that what you did, leaving, surviving, thriving, it didn't just save you. It saved me too, because it forced me to look at who I'd become, and I didn't like what I saw. So thank you for being brave enough to leave. He turned to go, then stopped. Oh, and Michaela? He's good for you. Alfred, I can see it. The way he looks at you, like you're the whole world. That's how I should have looked at you. I'm glad someone finally does. After he left, Alfred appeared at my side. Everything okay? Yeah, I said, watching Rome disappear into the New York night. Everything's perfect. 6 months after the Cultural Center opening, Walker Design Group had 15 employees and a wait list of clients. I'd been featured in Vogue, given a TED Talk about designing for cultural dignity, and started a mentorship program for young black designers. But my favorite accomplishment was smaller, more personal. I'd started painting again. Real painting, not just sketches and designs. I created a series of abstract works exploring identity, erasure, and emergence. And Alfred, who collected art obsessively, bought every single one, not because we were dating, but because, as he said, these capture something essential: pain transformed into beauty. We'd been officially together for 14 months, taking it slow, building something real. No rushing, no pressure, just two people who'd both survived loss, learning to trust love again. He'd met my parents. My mother had interrogated him thoroughly about his intentions. I'd met his mother, who'd welcomed me with warmth and homemade Italian food and stories about Alfred as a boy. It was easy with him, comfortable, no games, no tests, no shrinking required. One evening in early spring, Alfred picked me up for dinner at a new restaurant in Brooklyn, but instead of going to the restaurant, the car drove to the Cultural Center. What are we doing here? I asked. You'll see. The building was dark except for soft lighting in the main gallery. Alfred led me inside, where I gasped. The space had been transformed. String lights hung from the ceiling like stars. Rose petals covered the floor. And in the center, surrounded by candles, stood a sculpture I'd designed months ago, a black woman with her arms raised, face turned toward the sky, free. Alfred, what is this? He took my hands, his dark eyes serious and warm. Michaela Walker, 9 months ago I watched you present a vision that changed how I saw the world. You didn't just design a space. You designed a philosophy that every person deserves to be seen, honored, celebrated. You've applied that philosophy to everything you touch. The Cultural Center, your design firm, the people you mentor. He took a breath. But the thing I love most about you is how you applied it to yourself. You refused to stay small. You refused to accept less than you deserved. You rebuilt your life from the ground up with nothing but talent, determination, and grace. And watching you do that, being allowed to walk beside you while you did that, has been the greatest privilege of my life. He dropped to one knee. I stopped breathing. I'm not asking to complete you, Alfred continued, pulling out a velvet box. You're already complete. I'm not asking to save you. You saved yourself. I'm asking for the honor of building a life with you, of supporting your dreams, of celebrating your victories, of being your partner in every sense of the word. He opened the box. Inside was a ring, a stunning emerald surrounded by diamonds, designed by the same black jeweler who'd created pieces for the Cultural Center. Michaela Walker, will you marry me? I was crying. Full on, mascara running, can't breathe crying. Yes, I managed. Yes, absolutely yes. He slid the ring on my finger and stood, pulling me into a kiss that felt like coming home and setting out on adventure all at once. When we finally pulled apart, I laughed through my tears. You rented out the Cultural Center for a proposal? I own the building, Alfred said. I can do what I want. Besides, this is where your vision became real. It felt right. The ring was designed by the same black jeweler who'd created pieces for the Cultural Center. And the emerald, I looked up at Alfred, eyes widening. The same color as the dress I wore to the gala, he smiled. You think I'd forget what you looked like that night? You were breathtaking. I wanted you to carry that moment with you. We stood there in the candlelight, in the space I'd created, planning a future I'd never imagined possible a year ago. "You know what I love about this?" I said. "A year ago I was crying in a parking lot at 2 a.m. thinking my life was over, and now I'm here, with you, living a life better than any I'd dreamed." "That's because you were brave enough to start over," Alfred said, "to believe you deserved more, to build it yourself when no one else would." I corrected. "We built it. You've been part of this journey too." "Then let's keep building," Alfred said, spinning me in a circle. "Together." The engagement announcement broke the internet, again. But this time, the comments were overwhelmingly positive. People celebrated our love story, called it inspiration, said we'd given them hope that happy endings were possible. Even the haters couldn't find much to complain about. I'd built a successful business before getting engaged. I'd proven my worth independently, and Alfred had never tried to be my savior, just my partner. We planned a small wedding for the fall, intimate, meaningful, focused on us rather than appearances. But before the wedding, there was one more thing I needed to do. I called Viola Millstone. She answered on the third ring, her voice cautious. "Michaela, Mrs. Millstone, I heard you were retiring from the hotel business." "Forced retirement," she corrected bitterly. "Because of you, because of that scene at the gala." "No," I said firmly, "because of decades of discriminatory behavior that I happened to call out publicly. That's not my fault. That's yours." Silence on the line. "I'm calling because I want you to know something," I continued. "I forgive you. Not because you've apologized. You haven't. Not because you deserve it. You don't. But because carrying anger toward you is taking up space where joy could live. So I'm letting it go. You don't get to live rent-free in my head anymore." "I don't need your forgiveness," Viola said coldly. "I know," I replied. "That's why I'm giving it anyway. Goodbye, Mrs. Millstone." I hung up and blocked the number. Carla, who'd been listening, slow-clapped. "That was the most gracious fuck you I've ever witnessed." "I learned from the best," I said, hugging my best friend. 18 months after that rooftop proposal, after months of planning a wedding that reflected us rather than expectations, my wedding day dawned clear and beautiful. We'd chosen a small venue in upstate New York, a renovated barn surrounded by gardens, intimate and perfect. I wore a custom gown by a black designer, my hair styled in an intricate updo adorned with gold and pearls. I felt like royalty. I felt like myself. Carla was my maid of honor, of course. My parents sat in the front row, my father crying openly. Alfred's mother smiled from her seat beside them, having already welcomed me as a daughter. And when I walked down the aisle to meet Alfred, who looked at me like I was the sun and moon and stars, I felt complete, not because I was getting married, but because I'd finally found someone who celebrated all of me. The ceremony was beautiful. We wrote our own vows. Alfred went first. "Michaela, you taught me that love isn't about possession or completion. It's about partnership and respect. You showed me that the strongest people are those who've been broken and chose to rebuild. I promise to honor your independence, celebrate your strength, and walk beside you, never in front, never behind, for all our days." Then my turn. "Alfred, you saw me when I was invisible. You valued me when I felt worthless. You loved me, not despite my scars, but because of them, because they proved I was strong enough to survive. I promise to build with you, dream with you, and choose you every day, not because I need you to be complete, but because a life with you is richer than any life alone." We sealed it with a kiss as our friends and family cheered. At the reception, speeches were made. Carla roasted me lovingly. Alfred's best friend told embarrassing stories. My father gave a toast about watching his daughter rise like a phoenix. And then, as we had our first dance to Etta James, Alfred whispered in my ear, "Happy?" "Deliriously," I replied. "Good, because I have a wedding gift for you." "Alfred, we said no gifts." "It's not from me," he interrupted. "It's from you to you. Come on." He led me outside to a car. We drove for 20 minutes to a building I didn't recognize, until I did. It was the warehouse space I'd once toured, dreaming of turning it into my design studio, the one that had been too expensive, too ambitious, too much for someone just starting out. "Alfred, what did you do?" "I bought it," he said simply. 6 months ago when you mentioned it was your dream space, but I didn't buy it for you. I bought it with you. It's in both our names. Consider it an investment in our future, in the empire you're building." I stared at the building, my building, our building, and felt something click into place. This was it. This was the life I'd rebuilt from nothing. This was the happiness I'd earned. "Thank you," I whispered. "Thank you," Alfred corrected, "for teaching me what real love looks like, for being brave enough to build a life worth living, for choosing me to share it with." We stood there in the New York sunset, two people who'd both survived loss, both learned to rebuild, both chose to risk love again. And it was perfect. 1 year after the wedding, Walker Design Group now occupied the converted warehouse, employing 35 people and working on projects across the country. What had started as just me and Tyrell in a small Soho office had grown exponentially, especially after the cultural center's success generated national attention and a waiting list of clients. We'd just been hired to design a museum of African American art in Atlanta, my hometown, and I'd cried when I got the call. The Cultural Center had become a landmark, featured in every major design publication, winning awards for community impact and architectural innovation. Kids from the neighborhood took free classes there every day. Local artists displayed their work. It was everything I'd dreamed and more. Alfred and I had bought a brownstone in Brooklyn, filling it with art and laughter and Sunday morning pancakes. We were talking about starting a family, but taking our time, building a foundation first. Rome had completed medical residency and was working at a community clinic, finally becoming the person he'd always had the potential to be. We'd crossed paths once at a fundraiser, exchanged pleasantries, and moved on. The past was the past. Amber had gone back to school for her MBA and was thriving in corporate marketing, dating a kind man who actually appreciated her. She'd sent me a card when she heard about my wedding. "Thank you for showing me what strength looks like." Viola had moved to Connecticut 6 months ago after a 3-month board investigation concluded with her voluntary retirement. The hotel industry was small, and word traveled fast. Her influence was diminished to nothing. I heard through the grapevine that she'd started volunteering at a community center, maybe learning something about humility. I hoped so, for her sake. And me? I was living a life I'd once thought impossible. But here's what I learned through all of it. The happy ending wasn't finding Alfred, though I loved him deeply. It wasn't the business success, though that was gratifying. It wasn't even the revenge of watching my detractors fall, though there was some satisfaction in that. The happy ending was finding myself. It was learning that I was complete, with or without him, always had been, and didn't need anyone's approval to be worthy. It was understanding that forgiveness isn't about the other person deserving it, but about me deserving peace. It was realizing that being alone was better than being with someone who made me feel lonely. So to anyone reading this who's going through their own version of my story, who's being made to feel small, who's questioning their worth, who's wondering if they'll ever be enough, let me tell you something. You're already enough. You always were. The person who can't see that isn't defective because of you. They're defective because of them. That's my story. Now go write yours. If this story touched you, if it reminded you of your own strength, if it gave you permission to walk away from anything that makes you small, share it. Pass it forward. Let another woman know she's not alone in the rebuilding. And drop a comment telling me, what's the one thing you're reclaiming in your life right now? Your voice, your dreams, your peace? Because whatever it is, I'm here to remind you. You deserve it. You always did. Stay blessed, stay powerful, and remember, you're not just enough, you're everything. See you in the next story.